Kia ora e te whānau, no mai hoki mai, welcome back to the Multi-Millionaire Podcast. I'm your host, Te Kahukura Boynton, and this is where we talk all about money, mindset, and business. Today I wanted to talk about how to make money online in 2026. I've made $130,000 in the first 5 months of 2026, so I've got a few tips to share on how you too can build an online revenue stream. The best thing about posting on social media and growing a brand is that there are no upfront costs to be able to build a brand and make money on the internet. I started off with $30 and I bought a online domain, like a website, www.multimillionaire.com. But you don't even have to do that. Like, you can literally start making money on the internet without a website. You don't have to have a website. I thought I had to have a website, but essentially you can literally start posting on social media with no money at all. If you're watching this, I'm assuming you have a phone, a device. No, you don't need to go out and get a flash iPhone. You don't need to get a new phone. You don't need to get anything. You can literally just start posting, and people actually way prefer it when you're so authentic that you just get started with whatever you have. And you can even talk about that. Like, I don't even have a flash phone, or, my phone's actually half broken and I'm still using it, because people love nothing more than an authentic come up story. And that's exactly what mine was. Back in 2022, I started posting on Multi-Millionaire. I was 183 kgs. Like, I had eczema all over my face. I was just really struggling in all areas of my life, but I set out to become a millionaire in my 20s, and that's exactly what I started sharing content on. I'm still on my journey of becoming a millionaire, but people have watched me completely transform my life over the past 4 and a bit years. And that's a really cool way to do it, because people can actually look back and go, oh my gosh, you were here. Like, we literally saw you take all these steps. And some people have been following me for years, and they've just been like, just watching, just observing. And only now they're coming and they're like, oh, I actually want to start doing this too. Because it's often like a very slow journey where people go, oh, okay, I can see this girl trying it, but I'm just going to watch for a bit. And that's my favorite thing, honestly, because people have been able to see right from the beginning what this journey was actually like and what it's actually taken from me to be able to make this all happen. So I'm going to split this episode up into 3 different categories. I'm just looking over here because I've taken some notes. The first one is just like a step-by-step strategy on what you need to do in order to start building an online income. The next one I wanted to talk about, which is so well requested whenever I talk about this, and that's dealing with haters. Like, how do you cope with that? How do you manage that? And then the last one is, how do I actually make money? What are the exact revenue streams in my business? Just to give you guys some ideas of what you could also do. But obviously there's just so many different ways to make money on the internet. So let's just dive into it. As I said, the coolest thing about social media is that there's no upfront costs. When you start like a product-based business, you're going to have to invest some money into some products so that you can sell those products. Then when you sell those products, you're going to need to keep some of that money to reinvest back into your products, and the profit margins are going to be lower. The thing about online is that my profit margins are so high because my costs of goods, the actual cost of being able to make money, is so low. So, I have an office. I live in a 1-bedroom unit and I sleep in the lounge so that I can't see my desk from my bedroom, because I hate that. So I have an office now, but for the first, how long? Probably almost 4 years, I just boarded, and I boarded at different houses. And so half of the room was my bedroom and half of the room was my office. But what I'm trying to say is that you literally don't need anything. I've had various contractors over the years, but you don't have to have anything in order to make money on the internet. If you need stuff eventually, you're going to be making money so that you can pay for those eventually. You don't need stuff at the start. You don't need any products. You don't need literally anything to get started, which means that the cost of entry into making money on the internet is so low. It makes it so accessible, especially for people who don't have much money. And when I started, I was just 18 years old. I had no idea what I was doing. But the cool thing about it is that, I didn't really need much to get started. The next thing that I would focus on is choosing a mission. Lots of people talk about choosing a niche, and I just don't really like that word because it makes me feel like I'm in a box as opposed to I'm striving to achieve a goal. So different examples of missions could be to help people to lose weight, to help people navigate grief, to change the way people think about AI, or to to just literally anything. If you can think of something that you really want to help people to do, that can be your mission. So I'm on a mission to bridge the wealth gap. Like, I'm on a mission to make sure that everyone understands financial literacy, trauma-informed financial literacy. Everyone can, increase their income in business, and we can just make this wealth gap even smaller. Like, that's my ultimate goal, that's my ultimate mission, and that's what drives me. I prefer using a mission versus a niche, because anyone who follows me knows that I post about literally almost anything under the sun. I'm talking about health, I'm talking about trauma, I'm talking about addictions, I'm talking about money, I'm talking about business, I'm talking about mindset, I'm talking about consistency, I'm talking about childhood. Like, I'm talking about all these different things, and the reason why it still works and is still able to make me money is because it all ties into the deeper mission, which is to bridge the wealth gap. The other thing that's really cool about this is I feel like if your niche is too niche down, as the creator, it can actually get really boring. Like, if my niche was only money, I could only talk about money. But I know that so many other things affect money, like the system, the government, the colonization, the patriarchy, consumerism, all of these different things affect your relationship with money. And it wouldn't feel right for me to talk about money without talking about all of these other things, because it's like telling people this is how the system works, but not telling them that the system is actually rigged. So for me, I don't think that it's really like that ethical to just talk only about money, because it's not the whole picture. And I know that for a lot of other people that will also be the case. For example, with losing weight, if you just told people you just need to eat in a calorie deficit, it's not really going to work, is it? Because there's so many things that affect how people eat, what they understand about food, what's in their price range. And so a mission, I feel, is so much more aligned than having a niche. And I've never really heard someone talk about that, but that's just how I've always thought about it. The next thing on the list is, so like, first is like no upfront costs. Next is you've got to choose a mission to help people. And if you're really struggling with that, I would just think about what is something that you want to do? What is something that you've got experience in? What is something that you feel aligned with? What is something that excites you? Like money, I love money. Money is like one of my favorite topics in the whole entire world. I can talk to anyone about money. I just literally love it, and I've always loved it. And you can just see, like, I love money and I love everything to do with it. When I worked in law, you would not see my face light up this much talking about a case study. And I think that's an important part of it, is deciding something that truly you're passionate about. I wouldn't do something just for money. So I'm actually working with someone, coaching her to grow her personal brand. And she was talking about how her goal was to make money. And I just said that I just don't think that it's possible to grow a business if your only focus is on money. Like, yes, you might be able to make money. Yes, you might be able to grow this business, but you're not going to feel that alignment that this is what you're supposed to be doing. Because if you're only focused on money, like it's not that motivating. When someone who literally loves money, you lose motivation so quickly if your only driver is money. My driver is to help people and to bridge the wealth gap and to create systemic change and to change the landscape, and if it was only driven by money, I would have stopped by now, because it's not motivating enough. When times get really tough, you've got to have something that drives you beyond money. And so I'd really encourage anyone who's doing this to think about, what would your higher self be doing? How would she be helping people, or he? Most of my viewers are she's, so Katie Pie. That's what I'd be considering. The next thing is like actually creating a strategy on how are you going to build a brand. So what we want is we want attention, because when you have attention, then people know who you are, and then you can make money in that way. So if you have no attention, nobody knows who you are, and nobody knows that you can solve their problems for them. For example, in New Zealand, if there's an event about money and they want to have a bit more of a Māori focus or a rangatahi focus, my name will often get thrown out there, because there's not many people in the financial literacy space in New Zealand who are young, who are female, who are Māori. So just puts my name in that room. But that's only because I've built the attention on social media. If I had have just started this little kind of, 10 people little club thing, it wouldn't have been the same because it doesn't have the attention of the masses. So in order to get the attention of the masses, what you need to do is you need to create content, and you need to post content, and you need to post consistently. The more times you post, the higher the probability is that you're going to grow faster. Posting, although I hate lotto, is like a lotto ticket. You've got a chance of winning the lottery, which is going viral. Most likely you won't, especially if you're just getting started. Like, most people do not pop off overnight. Most people slowly create content over years and years and years and years before they end up seeing some results. Just like, for example, I'm posting this on YouTube. My YouTube channel is like so little. It's so small. Most of my videos don't get many views, but I'm trying to be consistent at posting on there because I know that the more that I post on there, this is going to have a compounding effect as time goes on. I'm also going to get feedback from what pieces of content works, what pieces of content don't work. And that's exactly what it is. It's just like a game. You've just got to play it so many times, and then eventually you get better at it. So posting as many times as possible consistently. My first goal was to post one time each day on every single platform, and I did that for the first 2 years. So I posted on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and I'd really encourage doing all three. And the reason being is I make all of my content on TikTok, and then I post it on Instagram, and Instagram automatically reposts to Facebook. So I am able to get the effect of posting on 3 social media platforms, but I'm actually only making content for 1, which means that I get 3 times the reward, 3 times the feedback, 3 times the lotto tickets, 3 times the everything, but I only have to make content once. I just think, like, that is just so cool to me. And the interesting thing about this is that I think that Facebook is my highest paying platform. And what I mean by that is a lot of people on Facebook end up buying things off me, or they end up offering me speaking events. But I have the most followers on Instagram, and I have the most engaged audience on Instagram, but I think they're a bit more reserved. And I think there's also a different age demographic where it's a bit younger, and so they might, I don't know, I'm just going off on a tangent, but I think it's really powerful to post on all 3 platforms because you get all 3, the rewards on all 3. The next thing that I would focus on is when you start posting, what I would do is I would focus on just posting, trying to have fun, trying to just learn, trying to just be creative, trying to just share things in different formats, just giving it a crack. Now, I'm working with someone who's a bit older, doesn't really understand how social media works, and I'm just giving her that same feedback. You just need to keep on posting, you need to try different things, you need to get feedback from people, you need to listen to it, you need to analyze your content and see what's working and what's not. So one of the things that I do is I'll go on my page and I'll just scroll down. So the thing about Instagram is Instagram doesn't have a feature where you can just at the top click like sort by most popular. Over on TikTok you can, so all your most popular videos you can push on the top left hand corner, and all your most popular videos will go to the top, so you can quite easily see what are the best performing ones. Whereas on Instagram they don't have that feature. So what I do, I would say once a month I go through my account and I forward all of the best performing pieces of content to myself, and I just know that by scrolling through. Oh, that one got a few hundred likes, oh, that one got a few thousand likes, and you just go through and you go, oh, okay, these ones are doing well. I send them all to myself, and what I do is I just sit here for like 5-10 minutes and I go, okay, what's working? People really love it when I'm vulnerable. People really love it when I'm a little bit angry. People really love it when I talk about XYZ. And that's what I would encourage people to do is, instead of just posting 100 million times, you actually do need to stop and you need to reflect and you need to analyze what's working and what's not working. When you figure out what's working, you need to double down on what's working, because that's how you're going to grow your platform. Most people who become like very famous, they actually just have one very viral video and they just recreate that over and over and over again, and they just, like, not in the exact same way, I'm not meaning repost the same thing, but as in using the same hook, using the same tone, using the same language, using the same visual features. What you want is a hook in as many places as possible. So a hook is the first few seconds of the video. People's attention spans is really short, so you've got to really hook them in. So saying something that makes them want to stop scrolling. You also want to do it in the words you use on the screen. You can have a visual hook. I'm not going to go too much into that. That might be a whole different episode, but you want a hook to stop people from scrolling, and you're going to be able to see what are the hooks that are working well by reflecting on what is the most performing content. Now, let's move on to dealing with haters, because this is a very popular one. A lot of people ask how to deal with that, and honestly, there is no secret to dealing with haters except for exposure therapy. You've just got to keep on posting. Like, one day you're literally going to die, and so is the hater. Like, you're both going to die. So you may as well continue to post, continue to get paid, continue to grow your brand, continue to make money. And like, so what if someone says that you're ugly? Like, literally, who cares? But you're not going to get to that stage. I'm only at that stage of thinking, like, who literally gives a crap? Because I've had so many haters for so long that I literally just don't even care anymore. Like, I'm just like, oh, so what if they say I'm ugly? So what if they say X, Y, Z? It doesn't faze me anymore because I have pushed through it so many times. Now, there was a time where I was like literally sobbing because their words had hurt me so much. What I realized was that if someone's words are hurting you, it's triggering you for a reason. So when I first started, people would always say, you're so fat, you need to go to the gym, stop focusing on money, you need to go to the gym. And it would really, really upset me. And the reason why it upset me was because they were saying something that I hadn't come to like realize for myself. So they said I needed to focus on the gym and less about money. I literally believed that money was just a numbers game, that health didn't matter, that you just needed to make more money, and it was as simple as that. And so when they said that, there was a little part of me that knew that they were right, but I didn't want to admit that, because if I admitted that, that meant that I also had a problem with my health and that I needed to sort that out. That overwhelmed me because I was like, oh, I'm already trying to sort my money out. Now I have to sort this out as well. And so what I realized was that when negative comments really upset you, really trigger you, it's because they're saying something that you haven't felt comfortable admitting yourself. And so another example is if someone commented and said, you know, I really hate your purple hair, I'd be like, I don't have purple hair though. So it literally doesn't, I don't care because I don't have purple hair. But if someone commented something and said like, I really just don't like it how you have this big birthmark on your face, just making one up. And if you're self-conscious about your birthmark, then that's going to make you upset. And the solution is to not be self-conscious about it. Like, it's a birthmark. You're still amazing. You're still beautiful, right? And I just wanted to share a couple of examples, because the more that you post on social media, the more you get used to it and the less it phases you. But you're not going to get there until you realize that literally you're going to die. And I can't remember where I heard this, but there was this thing that someone was doing. They were interviewing people on their deathbed and asking them what their biggest regrets are. And so many of them will say, I wish that I just did the thing. I wish that I just pushed through. I wish I did the business. I wish I started the thing. I wish I, and you never want to get to your deathbed and go, I wish that I blah, 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 blah. And so don't get to your deathbed and go, I wish I just literally overcame these haters, because literally it's not that deep. So keep on posting, keep on showing up. You will become so much stronger. The girl I am today would not recognize the girl that I was, 5 years ago. She would be shattered if someone said something mean about her. And now I'm just like, well, it's another day. Send it to your friends, send it to your group chat, keep on engaging. I wanted to chat a little bit about how to actually make money using social media. There are 4 revenue streams. I feel like there's another one that I've missed, but I literally just planned this episode like just before I started this. So the first revenue stream that I have is brand partnerships. So that is when a brand pays you basically to create ads for their brand. So you guys will see that all across social media. Lots of influencers will do that. That is one revenue stream. Now, I don't rely 100% on brand partnerships, because brand partnerships can go up and down. Brand partnerships can change. I was listening to this thing of this lady overseas, and during COVID, she said that brand partnerships really dried up for her because the brands she was working with were being, what were they being? Frugal with their money, I guess, and a bit scared, a bit, about, the climate. Like my biggest brand partnership is with ANZ, New Zealand's largest bank. So I feel like it probably wouldn't happen in that space. But my point in saying this is that you want to have a few different kind of revenue streams ideally, so that you can make sure that not all of your eggs are in one basket. The other revenue stream I have is public speaking. I travel around New Zealand, actually overseas. I travel around the world. I'm going to Canada later this year. And I deliver keynotes, I do workshops, things like that. This is the revenue stream that takes up the most amount of time. And like long term, I'd prefer to do less public speaking and more of the other things, because the other things, I can do them from home. They're a lot more fun. Not that public speaking isn't fun, but just like, yeah, when I look at them, that's the one that takes up the most amount of time, which means that it's also the least scalable. Number 3 is digital products. So digital products is when you buy like a program or a webinar or something like that. And digital products are a cool way to reach the masses, to help people. So, I have my podcast, I have social media content, but like in digital products, you can go a whole lot deeper. You can, have that interaction with people. You can answer people's questions, things like that. And then the last revenue stream is book sales. So I have a best-selling book, and it's in all the bookstores in New Zealand, and some in Australia as well. And so every 6 months I get paid my royalties. So essentially, that's how I made 130k in the first 5 months of 2026. And honestly, it's so fun because I'm literally only 22, and that just feels like such an accomplishment, because I was previously in law and I felt a lot of safety in law, because I was like, well, this is like a very safe kind of job. I know what I'm going to get paid. And I was taking a risk quitting my job and working full time for myself, but I just trusted that one day it would pay off. And I feel like it's literally paid off. Like I would be punching to be on 130k salary even for 12 months at 22 in law. Like that wouldn't happen, let alone 130k in 5 months. Like, and yes, I have business costs, so that's not all paid directly to me. That's in my business, but like my business costs aren't that high, because as I said, the overheads of running an online business can be so low. Like I have an office. I haven't always had an office. I've only had an office this year and a little bit. Was it just this year? I think it was just this year. Before that I was boarding at people's houses, and I had half a room for my office, half a room for my bedroom. And I just feel like it's just so fun. It's just so cool to make money on the internet. And I just wish that more people knew how to make money on the internet, because when we look at like disparities and outcomes and like the gender and ethnicity pay gaps, I was actually reading a report that said that like if you're in business, that is one way to reduce those gender and ethnicity pay gaps. They do still exist, and they particularly show up in like funding, access to resourcing and things like that. But but there is research, that backs up that being in business can reduce the gender and ethnicity pay gaps. And I think that this 130k that I'm talking about just really paints that picture. Like, find me a job that would have paid me 130k as a 22-year-old with no degree. I don't know where you would find that, but you can do that in business. And like that number can be 10x. Like that, this is just the beginning. It's just going to increase over time. And I am running a webinar. It's called Get Paid to Be You. And I'm going to be teaching you guys my step-by-step strategies and tricks on how I built this platform, how I monetized it. There's going to be some personalization so you guys can ask your questions and get that back and forth support from me. And then what I'm going to introduce is an accountability call in, I think, 3 months, so that you guys can actually go out, you can do the thing. But when you do like a program and you learn all this stuff and you're like, okay, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to schedule the call so that you know that in 3 months, we're going to be meeting again, and you're going to have to tell me, did you do the thing? Did you actually do what you said you were going to do? And hopefully that will motivate you to actually do what you need to do, because at the back of your mind, I don't want to buy this and then not do what's required. I recently did that with a workshop that I did. Like, I had a 3-month accountability call, and I just exceeded my goals because I knew at the back of my mind I was going to have to tell everyone why I didn't achieve my goals. And so it just pushed me to achieve my goals. And this was actually at the start of the year. I set a goal to hire someone, and I set a goal to make 50k in additional sales to what I had already guaranteed for the year. And I exceeded that. I ended up making an additional 70k, and I hired an assistant. So that was really cool. And I just want to create that environment, that safe space for everyone else to learn how to get paid to be you, and how you can be held accountable, and how you can get that tailored support in order to achieve that. So I'm going to put the link down in the description down below, but I can't wait to see you guys there. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. That is it from me today. Yeah. All right. Ka kite.